Hey everyone, how's it going? Jim here from Mystery and Mayhem. Welcome to my channel. I wanted to give you an update on what I've been reading or what I have read. I recently finished the Ivanhoe Gambit, which I said was going to be on my Read What You Own challenge list, so I decided to read this one next. This book by Simon Hawke was a pleasant surprise. I really enjoyed this book. It reminded me a little bit of Michael Crichton's Timeline. It was really, it delved into talking a lot about time travel, time paradox, and it had a lot of very good historical references in here and folklore. It featured Robin Hood, Ivanhoe, King Richard, Prince John. You know, all the awesome stuff pertaining to Robin Hood and that kind of era. It was very good, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm kind of looking forward to getting into the rest of the series. Although I have a lot more to read, I'm not sure when I'll get to them, but I've got a lot of stuff going on, reading wise and otherwise. But you know, judging from this book, the rest of them should be really, really good. I mean, as I said, I was pleasantly surprised. And since Robin Hood was in this book, and it kind of got me thinking about how much Robin Hood has been a part of my reading journey and my life for forever. Since I was a kid, and I kind of scoured my bookshelves, and I wanted to show you guys a few of the Robin Hood books that I have that I've acquired over the years. And I'll start with this one. This is the very first book I read pertaining to Robin Hood. I can't remember when I got it. This is how I first became familiar with the character, I do believe, was through this book. And this just has all kinds of beautiful, kind of colorful drawings of Robin Hood. I mean, the whole book's falling apart, so I don't want to mess with it too much. Yeah, see, it's kind of coming apart there, but just an awesome book to have and read as a kid. So that's that one. And this series of books, you might find them familiar. They post a lot of the classics in these large hardcover annotated books. Now, you know, the artwork is just awesome, but the paper, unfortunately, was just kind of pulp paper, so the paper's kind of started to go brown. And but it is annotated. So, like, you know, for instance, you know, they show like a sword belt, you know, that's mentioned in that paragraph there. So they'll put a little picture of the sword belt. You know, there's like hosiery. There's a spindle. They explain what a spindle is. So yeah, these were a lot of fun, and I'm happy to have that one. And I've got a few others. I've got a 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I've got a casebook of Sherlock Holmes in these volumes, and you'll still see these every now and then in the used bookstores, and that's very cool. Now, I have Robin Hood and the Men of the Greenwood. Now, I got this years ago, but that was written by Henry Gilbert and illustrated by Walter Crane, and that's a very famous adaptation of the Robin Hood legend. And yeah, the pictures are just done in watercolor. They're beautifully done, and it's a fairly big book, which delves into the folklore and the story of Robin Hood and Maid Marian and his merry men. So that's a nice book to have. Now, I've got another kids one, the Bancroft Classics, The Adventures of Robin Hood. You might recognize these also from, you know, used bookstore shelves. You can still find them now and then, but that was just a fun book, you know, and it's for kids, but I mean, it's still fairly in-depth story-wise. And again, the paper's kind of brown. They just kind of use the cheap pulp paper. And again, I have a few of these too. I think I have the Black Knight, and I forget the other one I have. I got about 3 or 4 of these on my shelf, but they're nice to have. And I've got a few paperbacks I want to share with you. Here's a Signet Classic, The Merry Adventures of Robin Hood. Now, this was written and illustrated by Howard Pyle, who was a fairly well-known illustrator back in the day. And that cover, actually, surprisingly enough, is by Robert McGuinness. And you don't see him do this kind of stuff too often, but that's just a nice piece of artwork. And I'll show you some of the illustrations inside if I can find one. I should have marked one for you, but yeah, there's Little John, and they're just nice black and white, looks like pen and ink drawings by Howard Pyle. And this is a fairly famous version of the story. And that's nice to have. That's a nice thick book. Now, Robin Hood also made an appearance in Bullfinchs Mythology. Now, I've got a 2-volume set, The Age of Chivalry and The Age of Fable. So Ivanhoe and the story of Robin Hood appeared in this book. Now, there's all kinds of different versions out there, and I had a couple of hardcovers. I gave them to my son, but I kept these 2 paperback versions, which I just love. And yeah, so his story appears in there, and towards the end of the Age of Chivalry section. And yeah, I mean, that's, you know, if you want to know more about Robin Hood, you can look for Bullfinchs Mythology and read about his story in these. Now, a couple of fun ones. One of my favorite movies is Robin and Marian with Sean Connery and Audrey Hepburn. And I love that movie. And I was happy to find this paperback by James Goldman. Now, it's not really a novel, and it's not really a screenplay. It's what I think he called a screen treatment. So it's got the dialogue, and it's got narrative between, you know, the dialogue. And yeah, so it was just kind of fun to read. There's some pictures in there. There's Robin Hood at the end of his life, shooting the arrow and telling Little John to bury him where the arrow lands, and that's a part of the legend. Here's some costume designs for the 2 actors, Sean Connery and Audrey Hepburn, and that's a fun book to have. There's some scenes from the movie. I mean, honestly, it just tells a mature, bittersweet story of the 2 characters and Robin and Marian's story, and it's got the Sheriff of Nottingham, Guy of Gisborne, King Richard. There's an awesome scene at the beginning of the movie between King Richard and Robin and Little John. And yeah, you'll have to watch the movie. It's brilliant. It's so well done. I love it. And you know, it's a typical movie from the 70s, which they kind of don't make that kind of thing anymore. Just yeah, so that's good. And last but not least, I have some short stories called The Fantastic Adventures of Robin Hood. And I love the picture of Robin Hood there on the cover, just looking perplexed. That's kind of a cool cover. And there's some short stories in here. There's some funny ones, some serious ones, some fantastic ones with authors Ed Gorman, Laura Resnick, Elizabeth Ann Scarborough, Nancy A. Collins. You might recognize some of those names, but yeah, it's yeah, those are my Robin Hood books, and I'm sure I have more on my shelves, but those are the few that I could find in my initial scouring of my bookshelves, and I thought you guys might be interested in checking them out. So I'll let you go for now. You guys take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Keep reading.